What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Animation Revaluation Podcast. Celeste, you there?
You know I'm always here.
What's up?
I'm here.
What's up? I'm here, so.
Oh, you didn't hear? I said I'm always here.
Yeah, and then I said, what's up? You go, oh,
I
I'm
didn't-
here.
I didn't hear that. I swear. I was like, why is it silent? Awkward.
I don't have a gun to her head, guys, I swear. She's doing the podcast of her own accord.
That's what you tell them.
Blink twice if you need help, but there's no camera.
No camera. Blink furiously.
Blinks furiously. Hey, I said twice. That's too much now. Oh man. So are you ready for what we're doing today?
No, because today's topic is very emotional, and I cried like a baby
Yeah.
during the whole movie.
Boy. So to anyone who wasn't here last week and didn't read the title for this stream or video or whatever you're watching on or maybe listening, we're doing A Silent Voice, which is it's a really good movie. Even
Kono
before,
Ka-
oh yeah,
Kono Kacha.
Koe no Katachi, which is the
There you
butchered
go.
way to say it, the butchered American way to say it.
But we try.
Yeah, but even before talking about it, I just want to say, please go watch this movie. But trigger warning, there is stuff dealing with suicide and depression, so be careful with that. So should I just go into a summary real quick?
Yep, go into a summary.
Okay, so A Silent Voice was a manga originally turned into a movie, and it was written and illustrated by Yoshitoki Oima. I'm sorry if I butchered her name. It was animated by Kyoto Animation, who are currently going through, a rebuilding after that, arson happened. Big ups to them. And they did a wonderful job in this movie. Now, as far as for what it's actually about, since this isn't, episodic or segmented material like we usually have on the podcast, I thought it would be best to just give us general summary first and then go into greater detail later as we discuss things throughout the podcast. So, as far as the movie goes, we learn at the very beginning of our movie that our protagonist, his name is Shoya, which I probably butchered again.
I think you pronounced it correctly. This time, because when I first watched the movie, because this is I kid you not, I think it's like my fourth time watching the movie.
Uh-huh.
The other three times I watched it with the Japanese dub, and this is the first time I watched it with English. And I'm pretty certain that you pronounced it the way that they did.
Okay, great. Big ups to me then.
Yay.
So we learned that he wants to kill himself, and this is him to our viewers who are just listening. He's just generic anime high school boy, black hair. We don't know why he wants to kill himself though. All we know is that he plans to. He's gone through with his plan, and he's sold his bed and other things. He's ripped up his calendar past a certain day. He's quit his job after he saved a bunch of money, and we're just left okay, why does this guy want to kill himself? And we get a flashback and learn that he, in his youth, when he was in grade school, he bullied a deaf girl, who we find out is named Shoko Nishimiya. And let me see, this is him when he was a kid. That's young boy bully Shoya. And this is who he bullied. Let me see, I should have a picture here. Ah, yes. Little Nishimiya, little Shoko. And she was a new student. She came in, they found out she was deaf, immediately bullied. He and the other students in the class bullied her harshly, and they did things like ripping out and destroying her hearing aids. And eventually, this comes to the principal's attention because the cost of new hearing aids became so immense for Shoko's mother, and all the kids just immediately blamed Shoya. So his mother has to pay Shoko's mother back the money, and we'll talk about that later. But they move on. A couple of days pass, and Shoko and Shoya get into a physical confrontation in school, a physical fight. And afterwards, Shoko ends up transferring out, leaving Shoya, who is now the one being bullied by the rest of his class. They've all turned on him, and now they're bullying him harshly. And all these years later, Shoya feels immense regret and has developed severe depression. He feels like he doesn't deserve to live, so he saved money to pay his mother back for when she had to pay for the hearing aids. And his last deed that he wants to do is to find Shoko and give her back her old notebook that she would use to communicate with her classmates because they didn't know sign language at the time. They would just write. He does end up meeting her again, but something compels him to no longer want to kill himself, and instead he wants to become friends with her and try to make amends for the past by helping her form new and better relationships with their old classmates. And then the movie goes on this route, and through some twists and turns, we get an ending where Shoya has learned that life is worth living and feels like he's finally ready to move on and live his life to the fullest. And that's just the general summary.
A lot of shit happens.
Oh yeah. So what do you think? What do you think we should hit first?
I think we should start from the beginning and then move up.
Okay.
It's like I said, it like Lizer says, it's really a sensitive subject, and we like when it starts off, Shoya, he literally like it. You just see him getting all like he's like marking down the days. Like he has a set day for his. Like I don't know if we're gonna get like I don't know if should we even say the word
Suicide.
suicide word. Yeah,
Suicide.
but anyways,
Suicidal.
suicide. He has suicidal tendencies,
Yeah.
and
Didn't he like mark down a day and it's just literally the last day.
yeah, literally the last day. And Liza's right. We don't know why he wants to, and then it goes flashback to when he's a child. And I noticed that, like at first, it didn't like the bullying didn't start like right away. I noticed that what triggered it was when the teacher asked one student to read something, and she reads it, and the teacher like mocks her.
Right.
He mocks her, saying, "Oh, like you can't read properly, like are you a child or something like that?"
Yeah. So
And then
like a kindergartner or something like that.
yeah, something like that. And so then Shok, oh my god, so Shok, oh my, what's your name again?
Shoko.
Shoko, like Shoko. I kept saying I wanted to say Shoka, but I'm like that's not it. Shoko. So she reads, and of course she's not pronouncing anything correctly. It's all slurs, and then the teacher is like, "Oh, you did a wonderful job. Sit down." And that's when Shioya stands up and he mocks her.
Yeah, he just
He
like
makes
kind of repeats the same thing.
yeah, he makes fun of it. And so then, that the teacher's like, knock it off. And that's when, like, everything starts becoming more severe.
Yeah, because at first they were actually willing to help her. Like, pretty much everyone except Shoya was willing to help Shoko.
Mm-hmm.
The girl that the teacher dissed, that's her right there. What is her name? I blocked out her name because honestly I don't like her.
I forgot her name. I want to know what's funny? When I watched the movies like the first time, I didn't like her. But when I watched it when I rewatched it again today, I have a new perspective of her, and I was like, holy crap, like out of all these characters, like yeah, she's a total bitch, but out of everybody, she was the one that was like, you guys, no one should be the victim. No one's the victim because everybody had a part in it.
Yeah, so she's a total bitch, but she owns it. She says that she's a bitch.
She,
Um,
she says that she is.
Naoka, that's her name. Naoka.
No, okay.
I knew her last name. I just didn't remember her first name. So she's actually willing to help at first, and she goes to Shoko, and she'll tap on her to let her know it's her turn to read. She'll take notes for her. Everything was fine. The only person who really had any intent to bully was Shoya.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, Naoka likes Shoya, which I don't think the movie really gets into too much.
The movie doesn't get into it. It's the manga that
The
does.
manga does get into it
I,
deeply.
because I remember she did say that she likes him, but when I was rewatching the movie, I, I, it did not say it at all.
Right. So that's basically why she starts to bully her. Like she's a little upset because she's like, oh, the teacher talks too fast. I can barely get my own notes down. Why do I have to do it for someone else? But she's still doing it. It's not until Shoya actually takes that first step and starts doing the bullying that anyone else steps up to do it as well. So he's kind of like the ringleader of it,
Mm-hmm.
and he has his little group of friends that he walks around with right here.
The crew.
It's three boys, so it's Shoya in the middle there. We have Kisuke, who is a little tubby. He's kind of like the side character. Like he no, I don't even think in the
He's
manga it gave much detail
he,
about him.
no, not even the manga gave so much detail
Yeah,
about it. Like in the movie, it's like he was just there.
yeah,
Like I feel like just there to be like the Three Musketeers. Like that's
right.
it.
And then we have Kazuki, and Kazuki. The way I viewed it was like Shoya was the ringleader, and Kazuki was like the laid back type guy that like just went along with things.
Mm-hmm.
But as I stated before, when Shoko leaves, they start bullying him, and it seemed like Kazuki was the one that really started it.
Yeah.
So it's like he waited for his chance, and now he's the ringleader, you know?
Huh.
Yeah. So
Because
uh,
because I noticed too when Shoko leaves and when the teacher's like when they're like we're gonna press charges, and I find it, like I said, I it's funny because it's like they are quick to blame Shoya. The teacher was like, it's Shoya, he's the one that's been bullying. He's the one that's everybody knows it's him. And then Shoya was like right away, it's like, wait, it's not just me, it's everybody else.
yeah,
And everybody's like taking a back seat. It's like, dude, like we didn't do nothing. It was just you all along.
right. And the only person who actually didn't bully her, because honestly, even the teacher bullied her. Maybe not to her face, but he did. Uh, was this one girl named Sahara, and she showed interest in learning sign language and speaking to Shoko on those terms. She wanted to become her friend, and she was, I guess the best way to say it is she was young and insecure about herself. And when they saw that she was warming up to Shoko, they started to like kind of bully her a little bit, and she just could not handle it at all and was immediately transferred out.
He left.
Like before even Shoko left, like she was gone one day, and nobody knew what happened to her.
And then that's when the bullying raised with the girls because they're like, it's because of you she's gone.
Exactly, yeah. That's your
When
fault
really,
that she's gone.
yeah, when really it was them.
And then I guess just to get the childhood stuff out of the way, there was also Naoka's friend. Here we go. What's her name? Miki. Miki Kawai.
I don't remember her last name.
Yeah, it's Kawai, and she's just like the follower.
Big time follower.
Holier than thou, I can do no wrong type of girl.
She honestly annoyed the crap out of me. Like, I like I hate, like, you don't like the other one. It's her that I hate. Like, I dislike the most.
Well, here's the thing. She's also who I dislike the most because where Naoka owns up and says, "I know I did these things. I know they were wrong, but I'm not the only one." The whole time, Miki's like, "I did nothing wrong. It was not me," even though she was there the whole time, partaking in everything.
Yeah.
And she just like fabricated the story, so she didn't have any involvement in it.
What I don't like is that she's so over the top.
Yeah, she
You
would
know,
start crying. She's super dramatic.
yeah, like there's an incident too with Shioyo where Shioyo like confronts her like, hey, did you tell what's his name about what happened? And like right in front of everybody, how can you make up false accusations about me? I'm not that type of person.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, woman.
And as I said before, we go through the bullying, and they're ripping out her hearing aids. Um,
She
when
gets injured once.
yeah, because I guess one of the hearing aids was eventually like embedded in the ear, because I know that those exist. I don't think it ever goes into detail about how exactly the injury happens. I'm assuming that that's what it was. The mother probably got tired of her losing them because probably wasn't telling her about the bullying. She just told her she was losing them, and she decided, okay, you can't lose this if it's part of you. And then Shoya rips it out, and she's bleeding, and it was a lot of blood too. Yeah.
It was.
So the principal has to come in, and it's like, okay, the price is over 1,000,000 yen, which is what, like $10,000 US, somewhere around there.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And the teacher is like, okay. The principal says like, oh, come forward, and Shoya has this moment where he's going to say it's him, because the movie doesn't go into it too much, but the manga does. He's raised solely by his mother. At this point in his childhood, his sister is off like doing whatever she wants. She's like a wild child. She's had 30 plus boyfriends, and she's just going crazy. But you get none of this information in the movie. So he has like a wild streak in himself as well. Obviously, you see the bullying, but it's because he gets the influence from his sister. But his mother's really all he has. And when they say the price, he thinks back, and he's like, okay, my mom runs a hair salon. We don't have too much money. We don't have many customers coming in. How is she gonna deal with this? And he's like hesitant to lift his hand, and then the teacher yells out like, we know it's you. And that's when he starts making the accusations. Okay, everyone else did. Why is it just me? Blah blah blah. And then his friends that I mentioned before, they like push him in like the little pond that they have outside of the school. Was it a pond?
I think it was like a pond.
Yeah. And they
Like
have
it's
outside of the school.
like, yeah, like there's a school here, like there's an elementary school here where I live, and they have a pond like right in front of their school.
Right.
It's like a makeshift one, and that's what the one that they had in the anime show / manga.
Okay. So yeah, his two homies here, they're like, why would you try to pin it on us when it was you who started everything, and blah blah blah. And that's when the bullying actually starts from him, and he gets ostracized. So he goes home. He's pissed off, and when he gets home, his mother, who I actually have a picture of here. Her name is Miyako, by the way. She's there, and she's on the phone with, I'm guessing, the principal. Because I don't feel like the teacher would make any steps to try to do anything other than what he needs to do with his job.
The teacher annoyed the shit out of me too.
Yeah.
I had the vibe that he really hated his job.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So his mother's there, and she gets the call, and he tries to just go upstairs, and she stops him. She's like, you're gonna listen to me when I talk to you, type of thing. And she's trying to reprimand him, but she sees that he's soaking wet, and she's like, oh, why are you wet? And it's because his friends beat him up and threw him in water. And he's like, oh, I jumped off the bridge. It was a challenge. Me and the guys were playing around. And he's getting angry. He's not looking at her this whole time. So finally he turns around and looks at her, and she's crying. And he just like stops them in his tracks. Because again, that's all he has. He can't, no matter how much of an asshole he is when he's young like this, he can't bear to see his mother upset. So it stops him dead in his tracks. And she tells him, we're gonna apologize, we're gonna pay them back the money, blah blah blah. He's he's young, so I don't think he understands exactly how much money it is, but he knows it's a lot. Uh, it actually shows us a scene of his mother going to the bank and just getting like a stack of cash, and he sees that and just has this moment of like, oh shit. So they go, and he stays in the car while his mother meets with Shoko's mother, who I also have a picture of. Here she is, Mrs. Nishimiya. And he can't hear anything that's happening because they're far away, he's in the car. But his mother starts to wave him over. And Shoko's mom stops her. Basically says, like, let's go talk over there. It cuts away. He decides to go on a little adventure where he sees Shoko feeding some birds. He tries to scoot past her without her noticing, but he scares the birds away. And it just cuts back, and he's in the car again. And his mother is... No, he's not in the car. He's outside waiting for her. And she comes, and she's like, okay, it's time to go. And nothing is said, but the camera just zooms in on her, and she's actually bleeding from her ear. And her earring is missing, and she has blood on her sweater. And that's basically telling us that the money wasn't enough. She had to pay him
Eye
back
for
a
an
little
eye.
bit. Yeah, exactly. What her son did, she had to go through. And that basically just like wraps up the child stuff, because I already spoke about when they got into the fight. Yeah. And the reason they get into the fight, I guess we can touch on that, is Shoko was after school. Shoya came into the class, and Shoko was cleaning his desk, and he's like, "What are you doing? Don't touch my stuff!" And they start fighting. When she transfers out, he actually finds out that she was cleaning his desk because the students were putting like, "I hate you, go away, don't come back," like that kind of stuff on, and she was actually doing him a favor, and he drove her away. But then that brings us to, current time Shoya. Is there anything you want to talk about with current day Shoya?
No, there's a lot I want to talk about current day Shoya. I mean, we from when he was little, he was very outspoken. He was very cocky, and I mean, you can tell, right, like, he literally did not care about anything and anyone. And when we see him older, like, he has severe anxiety. I mean, like, severe. And he can't look anybody in the face. Like, when you're watching the anime, even when you read the manga, everybody has an X on their face. Like, he's too scared because he knows what he did in his past was bad, that he just thinks everybody's always talking bad about him. Because after graduating from elementary school, his friends right away were like, "Oh yeah, don't become friends with Shoya because he bullied a deaf girl. Like, he's the worst."
Yeah, they just kept it going all throughout his like middle school life up until high school, where they finally split up. The only one he goes to school with is Miki.
Yeah, Mickey.
But she did no wrong, and she has no reason to talk to him, so doesn't really
He's
matter.
a holy saint. So she says.
Yeah, so he has this plan to commit suicide, and we've already gone through all the steps he took and everything. He meets Shoko again, and he gives her back her book, and she finds out that he can do sign language, which he learned just so in case he ever met her again, basically.
What a guy.
Yeah, what a guy. And she's excited about it. She doesn't show too much excitement because she's still a little cautious. But he asks her if they can be friends, and he does the sign language before you and I friends, which is what she did when they were young. And he has this realization of like, oh, that's what you were telling me back then. And she's just happy about it.
He wanted to be friends with him.
Yeah. So he even, like, when he leaves, he's like, why did I say that? I have a plan. Why didn't I do this? Blah, blah, blah. And he just can't come to grips with it, but he knows he wants to see her again. But as we said, he has anxiety, he has depression. He doesn't know how to go about approaching her for that again. Uh, do you want to talk about what happened when he went home and woke up the next day?
Oh my goodness. He went home. He woke up, went down to breakfast, is eating breakfast with his little cute niece Maria,
Oh yeah, Maria.
which
I have a picture of
which
her.
which by the way, like what I love is they added diversity into this. Little Maria. And so they're eating breakfast and the mom's like, "Oh, like," and he's like, "Well, you're in a good mood." And then she's like, "Oh yeah, look what I woke up to," and she like he gave the cash to his mom, like that he owed her. And so she's like, "Oh look," and she's like, "Oh I'm so lucky to have such a great son, and very responsible and blah blah blah." But then she's like, "But then I found out you wanted to kill yourself," and she starts freaking out. And so she's arguing with him, and she's like holding the cash up, like it's in an envelope, so she's holding it up, and she's like holding a lighter under it, and she's like, tell me you're not gonna kill yourself, or I'm gonna burn this money and it's gonna like all go to waste. And so then he begs, he's like, I'm not gonna kill myself, I'm sorry. And then she's like, good. And then she accidentally burns the money.
I love the
What a
way
scene.
like she was nonchalant about it at first too. She's like, "Oh, it's such a good day." Blah blah blah. Hey, by the way, why would you want to kill yourself? And he doesn't even
Oh,
really
he
react
doesn't
to it.
even bat it.
He just
He,
tries to explain, and then she's
like
like, "I knew it."
he literally doesn't bat an eye, and he just like explains this whole situation. The mom's like, "Oh, this motherfucker."
Yeah. And I there's probably like a way you can go in depth and look at the character and see why he reacted that way. Because I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything like that, but I've heard that people with depression and who've had it for so long, they think that their thoughts are normal everyday thoughts. So he might
Yeah,
be
no.
thinking, yeah, everyone thinks about killing themselves at some point. So she's just asking me why I wanted to do it now.
Hmm.
I never really thought about it like that before.
This anime makes you think.
Oh yeah, it makes you feel some things.
I was telling Lizer, I was literally bawling right from the beginning to the very end that I had high blood pressure.
um, so so he goes on and like all he can really think about is how to approach her again. So he goes to where he found her, which by the way is a sign language class. And when he knocks on the door, he's answered by dun, dun, dun,
Food.
Yuzuru, who is this short-haired little person, uh, who's just like very standoffish with him. It's like, why do you want to see her? She's not here, even though she's literally right behind Yuzuru.
I wish you got a screenshot where you can see Shoko right behind him.
Yeah, I wish I did too.
That would have been awesome.
uh, so he's like, well, what can I do? I don't know what to do. And Yuzuru's just like, kind of like
Go
shooing
away.
him off. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like literally go away.
he leaves, but he sees Shoko again, and she's feeding the fish in the river. And that's when he gets the idea, bread. I need to bring bread because then I'll have an excuse.
No. Because so it's the next day, and
Right. Oh yeah.
he's trying to figure out what I need to do something, and then at the start of the school, um, it, I forgot what's his name, the one that's getting his bike taken away, or the guy's trying to take away his bike.
Oh right, yeah, I completely skipped over that. Wow.
Hey,
Yeah, I have him here. Uh, Nagatsuka.
that name.
Yeah, also known as Steven Universe.
Well, was it? Well, actually, I don't remember when Steven Universe was. No, Steven Universe was before. Never mind. Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, so some guy is trying to take away his bike, and he's like, "Someone help me! So he's trying to steal my bike, and then that's when Show goes over. He's like, you can take my bike, and so the guy takes his bike, and then that's that. And then at the end of the day, Show's like, what was I gonna expect? Like, my bike's gone. I'm never gonna see it again. And so as he's walking, he's trying to come up with ways to see Shoko. And as he's walking, a piece of paper like flies, and he's like chasing it, and then he catches it, and it says like 50% off bread. And then he's like, that's when he's like, bread, I can take her bread.
It's a sign from the heavens. And he 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 does go to take the bread. He's a man who sticks to his guns. He's able to meet up with her, right? Does he meet up with her
Nope.
again? No.
Nope. So he goes, and then I forgot his name.
Yuzuru?
Him. Steven Universe.
Oh, okay. Steven Universe, yeah.
He runs into Show, and he's like, look, I found your bike. The douche like threw it in the rice field.
Oh, right,
And
because
so
Yuzuru
then,
turned him away.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. My bad.
So then he's like, here, look, I got your bike, and blah blah blah. And like the next day comes, and he Show's riding his bike to school, and he like pedals up fast, and he's like, hey, he's trying to talk to him like if they're friends. And so then he's starting to get friendly with Show, but Show is like still like what's up with this
Yeah,
guy?
he's still kind of
Why is he trying to?
standoffish.
He's like, why is he trying to talk to me? And so then the school day ends, and then that's when Show goes back to the sign language class with the bread.
Right, okay. But eventually he is able to meet with her again. And he returns. No, wait.
No. He so he
I
goes to
just watched
talk
the movie. Why can't I remember anything?
because he goes to the class, and Yuzuru's still trying to push him away.
Yeah.
But that's when Steven Universe comes, and he's like, let Show talk to whoever
Oh,
he wants
yeah,
to
they
talk
get the
to.
attention of her.
Yeah, they get the attention of her because they're causing this big scene. And then and this is and right here is a perfect example of how insecure Show is, because the people in the sign language class are looking over, and they're like, oh, it's that nice boy that came the other day. And he's like, no, that's not me, you're mistaken. And he like takes off.
Right.
And then that's when Shoko goes and chase after him.
Yeah. So they're eventually able to talk, and they're talking on like this bridge nearby the building they were in. And Steven Universe and Yuzuru are actually looking from like a balcony, because Yuzuru has a camera. And Shoya is. We don't actually get to hear or see what's happening with them because it's from the view of Yuzuru's camera. So Yuzuru is doing all the interpretation for us, but Yuzuru is an ashhole kid, and
By the way, who's impersonated to be Shoko's quote unquote boyfriend?
yeah, uh, he's saying like, oh, what are they saying? Because Steven Universe here was saying like, oh wow, he talks with his hands a lot. I'm like, oh, it's sign language, dumbass. And it's like, oh, you know sign language. Can you translate? He's like, who is that guy you're with? Oh, I don't know. He's some loser who's following me. It's like that's not what he's saying. But they're having a very civil conversation in all reality, and the topic of the book that she used to write in comes up, and she goes to open it, and they used to bully her, so there's like crude drawings in there, and he suddenly remembers that, and he's like, wait, no, you don't need to see that. He goes to like snatch it out of her hand, and she reflexively pulls back and accidentally drops it in the river below. So like, oh, well, what are we gonna do about this? And she just wastes no time and just jumps in the river, and he follows after. And then Japan being Japan, they have him like land in the perfect spot so that he can almost see up her skirt. But my boy's too much of a gentleman, and he just comes right back up, and he comes up with the book on his head, right? Or like nearby him.
It's on his head.
It was on his head, okay. So he's like, hey, I found it, but she's deaf. so she can't hear him. And then
And
it
so
just
she's
cuts
like
to
practically searching.
yeah, she's just like diving in and out. But then it cuts to them, on dry land again, and she's he's apologizing for everything that happened. I don't think I put a picture of her when she's older. Here she is, and
So cute.
yeah, and he's apologizing and everything. Uh, what we don't know until later though is that since Yuzuru was watching the camera, he got a snapshot of Shoya jumping into the river. And being the little douchebag he is, he actually makes a fake Twitter account and makes it seem like Shoya did this on purpose. That he's like, hey, look at me, I'm gonna jump in this river even though I know it's illegal. And that actually ends up getting him suspended from school for a week, and he has to stay at home. Uh, the issue with that is he has his niece, and his mom tells him,
Maria.
yeah, Maria, his mom tells him, I need you to go pick her up. And he's like, well, I'm suspended, so I can't leave home, which I guess is a thing in Japan, because I'd never heard of that.
You know.
It's just like, oh, it'll be quick. So he I guess she was in daycare. So he picks her up, and he takes her to like this little park. It's a little playground made for kids, jungle gym, slide, the whole 9 yards. And she's playing. He's like, okay, it's time to go home now. And she just goes, Show, there's somebody in here. So he goes to check it out, and sure enough, Yuzuru is inside the jungle gym, all dirty,
All dirty.
missing his shoes, just passed out. So not Shoko, Shoya, that's hard.
They're both shows.
Yeah, they even have the same nickname of Sho.
Yeah.
Shoya wakes him up and it's explaining like, oh, you need to get out of here. This isn't a good place for you to be. And Yuzuru's like, oh, well, he's keeping up the act of being Shoko's boyfriend. I got into an argument with her and I ran out. Blah blah blah. So eventually, Shoya's like, all right, come over to my place. You can have a place to sleep, some dinner. So he does. Cleans up, has dinner. He refuses to eat at first, and it's not until Maria is like, "Here, eat," and like holds the takoyaki up to him that he decides to eat because she's so damn adorable.
She is so damn adorable.
Yeah. So Shoya knocks out, and Yuzuru's just there next to him, and I guess Yuzuru's like, "Fuck this! I'm not taking the hospitality." Leaves barefoot again, and it's just pouring rain outside. And Yuzuru stops and sees a dead frog on the pavement and decides to snap a picture. And suddenly the rain above him stops. And it's because Shoya's there with an umbrella. It's like, hey, I woke up and noticed you were gone. And he brought sneakers for Yuzuru to wear. That way he's not walking around barefoot.
His old sneakers when he was
when
younger.
He was a kid. So they continue walking. Yuzuru's just, being a dickhead. It's like, oh, you're trying to, take pity on my sister when you used to do this, and blah, blah, blah.
Well, he doesn't say sister.
Yeah, he doesn't say sister. Whoops, spoiler.
At that time.
But he's like, oh, yeah, we got in an argument because I used her shampoo. And Shoya's like, oh, I didn't know you guys I knew you were dating, but I didn't know you lived together. I promise I'm not going to horn in on your territory or anything like that. And
it was so funny for him to say.
Yeah. And he just has like this breakdown moment where he says like he won't even look Yuzuru in the eye, and Yuzuru does not have the X like most people. But he brings the umbrella down so he can't see Yuzuru. He's only looking at Yuzuru's feet, and he's talking about like, you're right, I'm a horrible person. I'm trying to get what I want out of this, and what he wants is basically forgiveness. But he's seeing it as a selfish thing. And Yuzuru has this moment where he picks up the umbrella and just kind of accepts Shoya in that moment.
He's like, you know what? You real, dog.
Yeah.
You real.
And they keep walking, and they get to like this small bridge pass, and the rain stops. And he's like, all right, well, this is far enough. I'm good. And he starts walking and turns back around. It's like, by the way, I'm not her boyfriend. I'm actually, and then he does sign language, and Shoya has to like think about it for a second. He's like, what is sister? And it's
Little
little
sister.
sister. Oh my god! And Yuzuru's like, yep, and walks away, and then you just see her mom just zooming straight to Shoya and just smacks the hell
Beeline.
out of him.
Like
And
that.
yeah, and Shoya's just like, oh, I know you. You're Shoko's mom.
Yeah,
And then she
literally,
just
that's it.
walks away. She's like, why are you with this boy? And just walks away. And tugs Yuzuru with her. And that's
And
basically the
then,
end of that night.
yeah.
The mom came off as such a bitch for so much of the movie.
Which is kind of understandable.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's the guy that tormented your daughter, you know?
Yes. And she has
So
reasons outside of that, too, to act the way she does.
which actually the movie doesn't, like, they show. I
Not at
noticed.
all. So I guess we can talk about that now because it's not actually in the movie. So we can talk about it at any time.
Yeah, so the mom is going through, like, real hard stuff, like, at home. Like I said, it's been a while since I read the manga. I know the whole divorce with her husband
Yeah.
was an issue.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the one thing I remember, and I
Yeah.
remember that was
Uh-huh.
I would say that's the only thing I remember, like in the manga.
So the
That was
husband was actually from a wealthy family, and they were pretty well off with him. Um, but Shoko was born, and she has, the deafness. That's her disability. And the family's like, well, we can't have someone from our lineage be like this. You must be tainted goods if this child that you bear is defective and blah blah
yeah
blah.
they blamed her. I
Yeah,
remember now
and then
they
she's
blamed
literally
her.
saying like the doctor says that this came from the father's side of the family. This specific form of deafness, which I don't know if that's something taken just for the manga where there's different forms of deafness, or if that's a real thing. Uh, but she's saying like this specific one is traced through male genealogy, and it's through his line that she got this, and they just refuse to accept that. And
Yeah,
the father is right there. He's like, I don't bear kids like that. There's no way. I'm too good, and just like cut all ties with them. So
yeah.
the
He
mother
was
has to
kind of
live like this hardened life for her kids. It sucks.
yeah no yeah, and I wish like I get there's like limitations that what they can bring from the manga, but I wish they would have brought the mom's elements to it as well so
Oh
we can
yeah,
get a better understanding.
definitely. So what would be next then?
So after I'm trying to remember too. So after that I think that's I think um they go I want to get to the part where they want to go find their friends, but I feel like that wasn't around that
I
time.
mean, that's basically what happens next. Like they hang out a couple of times and they,
Oh, like
exchange pleasantries.
because he hangs out with Steven Universe. Like
Yeah,
they start like Steven Universe is like, come on, let's start hanging out, and they show like montage. What is it called? Is that montage?
montage.
Montage of them like hanging out and having a good time. And even he's like, am I allowed to have fun? You
Yeah.
know? And so then finally they're eating, and then that's when he's like, hey, what makes a friend? Like, is there like initiation? Is there like a code? What is there anything?
Oh yeah, you gotta
And
have their phone number.
and then Steven, that's when Steven Universe just like, here, give me your hand, and they shake on it, and
I
he's
like that
like,
this is just a thing
that's
now. He's just Steven Universe.
yeah. I don't know his name. Like I forgot. And I liked him. He's one of my faves. He's like up there.
Yeah, he's just like a little bowl of just wholesomeness, but he's just a side character, honestly.
But he's a good side character.
Nagatsuka.
And he's just like, there's nothing to it, we're just friends. And so then he Sho becomes better, so him and Sho start hanging out with Shoko and Yuzuru at the pond feeding the ducks. And then that's when he Sho was like, "Oh, can I have your number?" Like, but he's
Well,
not
he
saying, "Can I have
tries
your
to,
number?"
yeah.
He was shy, and then he like points at his phone. He's like, "Is there anyone you want to get in contact with?" He was trying to imply himself, but Shoko took it as, "I want to get in contact with the girl that left, the one that got bullied with because of Shoko,
Sahara.
Sahara." Yeah, and so then Sho takes it seriously, and he goes back to the next day. He goes back to school and he talks to Mickey, the one that was in the elementary school with them, and he's like, "Hey, do you know anything about Sahara?" And then Sahara. I wanted to say Sahara, but anyway,
Yeah, it
Sahara.
works.
And then and so she's like, "Well, no, I don't know anything about her, but you can, look at the records." And so Sho goes and I guess he finds it. Doesn't show in the movie, but I guess he goes, looks, and finds it because I don't remember in the manga too, like what he does.
Yeah.
And so then him and Steven Universe at the train station, and then they meet up with Yazuru and Shoko, and so then they go, I guess, into another town, and they get off the train, and as they're going down the escalator, he's like, "Oh man, how are we gonna find her?" And then it so happens she's riding up the escalator, and she spots them, and she's like, "Holy crap, it's Shoko!"
I've been looking for you.
And so then they meet up, and her and Shoko and Sahara are talking, like doing sign language, and she apologizes to Shoko for just leaving her,
Yeah.
and Sho becomes awkward because he feels like like it looked awkward. It did feel like if he was the third wheel,
Yeah,
and
like,
so like
but we're like seeing it through his eyes, so it was probably fine,
yeah,
honestly, for him to be there. But he has such low self worth that he's like, they don't need me. He doesn't even say anything. He's like, I'm going to the bathroom, and he just ditches.
yeah, he just takes off, and then after that, they Sahara and Shoko exchange phone numbers, and Shoko like thanks him for doing this for him,
Right.
well, for her.
But when he ditched, he actually ran into an old friend.
See, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
The one that speaks her mind.
Yeah, Naoka. And she has like these kitty ears on, and she actually gives him this like advertisement for her job, and it's called like the Kitty Cat Club, which sounds like a horrible place for a high school girl to work at.
I thought it was the Meow Meow Club.
I think it depends on like which version you're watching, like whoever localized it.
Mm-hmm.
So Meow Meow Club, Kitty Cat Club. There's like different variations of it, but whatever it is, it sounds like it should not be a place that high schoolers go to. But I swear it's perfectly fine for a high schooler to work at.
Cat Cafe.
Yeah, it's just a cat cafe. So he kind of has this moment of like, was that her? I don't know if that was her, because he just can't believe that she would be in that getup.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Sahara and Shoko. They went to karaoke and they sent him a video, and Shoko texts him and says that she wants to meet up with more of their old friends. So he's like, okay, well, now I know where Naoka is. I just have to work up the courage to go there. So Steven Universe is like, oh, come on, dude, we'll go. And they wear like these disguises, basically, and go to the club. And Naoka is actually there, but as soon as she sees him come in, she's like, oh shit, I gotta hide, even though I'm the one who told him to come. So she
I
hides.
couldn't believe he actually came.
Yeah, she hides. He wastes an hour there. But he gets this little like cat purse, I think it was.
Yeah, it was a cat purse.
Yeah, and it's going to be a souvenir for Shoko. So Yuzuru has gotten into the habit of coming to visit him and just like hanging out with Maria and his mom. So he just passes it on to Yuzuru to give to Shoko. And she brings it home. She's like, oh, I got you a present. And Shoko's actually on her bed just like crying. She's covering one ear, uncovering it, and just tearing up. And
There was a scene before Yuzuru came in, and it was a scene with her and her grandma at the doctor's office, and you could tell she was receiving bad news.
yeah, like her hearing is getting worse or something probably.
Yeah, that's what seems like it's being implied.
Yeah. Um.
They really don't say anything. Like they just show us a scene and with like nothing,
Yeah.
with no words.
Like, you just basically got to pull your own thing out of it. Um. But Shoko's having a hard time, so Yuzuru just leaves it at the base of her bed. Uh. But the next morning, she seems pretty fired up and happy.
Hmm.
So that's always a good thing.
No.
Why no?
That's the sign of depression. You
What?
know.
No way. If you're happy, you're happy. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, it's true.
so so the next day, Sho is at a stoplight and he sees Shoko across the street. And as he's waiting for the light to go green, um, forgot her name again.
Naoka.
Naoka. I should just call her Neon.
Oh my
I'll
god.
probably get like I probably get axed. Anyways, so she goes and she sits on his bike and she starts talking to her. I mean him. She starts talking to him like, "Hey, man, I know it's been such a long." And I mean, like, she's casually like if they were in contact for like a long time.
Yeah.
Like she just casually talks to him like, "Hey, yeah, I know, like you went through shit and in elementary school and middle school, and I did buy and did nothing, and I just like let it happen, and like, oh well, it is what it is.
Yeah, she's like, it was no
Like,
big deal though. You're alright.
yeah, you're
Which is
right.
just like textbook abuser.
And so she's just like talking to him, and then she looks across the street and she's like, oh holy shit, that's Shoko, the death girl, that we used to bully and blah blah blah. And she's like, like, look at her being by herself, she's probably lonely, she's probably miserable, and she's like talking all this mad shit about her. And Sho's just like, get off my bike, like I'm done talking to you.
Yeah.
And she's like, you hate me. And he's like, probably, like literally he's like, probably.
Literally the first time we see him stand up to anybody, and it's not even for
Yeah,
himself, it's for Shoko.
yeah. And then he's like, literally goodbye. So then he starts going across the street and she like books it in front of him, and she gets to Shoko before he does. And she's just like, oh hi, it's been so long, since we've seen you. And she's just making fun of her.
Yeah, she
And
takes
then
out her hearing aids again.
yeah, she takes off her hearing aids and she's like, come on, Sho, let's play, keep away like we used to do in elementary school. And then he's like, no, like he's like, I'm not that person anymore. And then she like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Gives back Sho the hearing aids and then just takes off.
Yeah. Just like nonchalant, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
I hate her. I hate her so much.
Yeah, like she's really not like the best person,
Yeah.
but I like that she puts everybody in their place,
Yeah, definitely. I think she's not made to be likable. Like that, I think that's supposed to be her point. She's not a likable person. But
Hmm.
not being likable and not being able to forgive someone are two different things.
Hmm.
So what was next? Because honestly, it's just kind of like
No,
it
yeah,
does it a
it's just
couple
like,
times where it's just like montage of them helping each other out and hanging out and stuff.
and then there's a scene where uh Sho goes back to class and he's talking to Mickey. I forgot what he's asking her, but he's talking to her, and then she kind of like pulls him aside and she like whispers to him. She's like, "Oh, see that guy? Like he thinks you're cool and he wants to be your friend."
Oh
And then,
yes, her
and then
her
he joins
boyfriend.
the guy that she wants to impress.
Yeah, Mashiba.
Washiba.
They don't really get into it in the movie, But in the manga, we find out that he actually has a history of being bullied, and he's strictly against bullying, and he like harshly is against it. So like
Hmm.
he says something along the lines of like, I could not forgive anyone who has ever done bullying ever. They are non-redeemable. Not knowing the history of
Like,
Shoya, who he's
yeah.
trying to become friends with. So
Uh-huh.
Shoya's trying to like hide that from him, and he starts being paranoid that Miki's going to tell him. And he actually in the movie he does say that even though we have no context for it, he says like, oh, did you tell him that I did this? And she just like gets all dramatic again, like, oh, how could you say that to me?
I didn't say anything. How can you make false accusation? I am such an angel. I would never talk shit about you.
Yeah, but then she starts yelling out, I never told him about how you did this and that, basically telling everyone in the classroom about the things he
Everybody in
did,
the classroom.
like
And then
his
like
worst nightmare basically.
and his anxiety goes through the roof that it makes him sick that he like walks away.
Yeah.
Like he has to walk away because he
Hmm.
just can't deal with it.
And he basically just becomes a husk of himself for a while,
Yep.
and he can't really communicate or have social interaction with anyone. But he still meets up with Shoko
Hmm.
and Yuzu and Steven Universe, and eventually it becomes like a let's all hang out at the bridge type of thing, and everyone
Hmm.
comes, Miki and Naoka as well, and
And this guy,
yeah, and that guy.
that guy.
Actually, was this before or after the carnival?
It's after the carnival because like during they go to the carnival, they have a good time, and that's when Joe was like, "Am I allowed to have friends? Like, am I allowed to have a good time?" Because he looks down on himself. He's always thinking so much negative thoughts that he thinks that he's not allowed to enjoy life, that he's not allowed to enjoy like happiness.
Right.
Like he punishes himself that he is not allowed to do anything fun or he's supposed to suffer for the rest of his life.
And actually, at that carnival, it was all of them again, by the way, at the carnival or
Hmm.
amusement park. I mean,
Yeah.
um, Naoka actually kind of forces him to meet up with Kazuki again, because Kazuki is working at a takoyaki stand at the amusement park, and he doesn't know. Neither one of them know that she's going to do this. And Shoya looks up and realizes that it's him. And at this
He
point,
panics.
Naoka didn't have an X on her face, and he was starting to trust her again because they had been hanging out as a group. So he started to feel safe around her again. But as soon as she did this, X's just went up everywhere. Random strangers, this guy's face, her face, just pretty much everyone except his small group of friends that he now
Hmm.
has. And he just like walks away and basically wants to cut all ties with her right then and there. So she gets pissed off and says like, "Oh, well,
Shoko.
me and Shoko, yeah, you realized I was having trouble with Shoya Shoko.
Yeah.
Me and Shoko are gonna go ride on the Ferris wheel." And she like drags her along, and Yuzu was like, "Oh, well, if you're gonna do that, take my camera, because I want to ride the roller
Go
coaster.
on
I
a
don't want
ride.
anything to happen to it." What we don't know is that when Yuzuru did that, she actually hit record, so the camera was recording the whole time, and we find out that that was actually Naoka approaching Shoko and saying like, "I hate you, but I want to hear your side of things. But that doesn't change anything, no matter what you say. I hate you for splitting up my group of friends. I hate you for being involved in his life and stuff like that." And this is actually the first time that we actually get Shoko's reaction to anything, and she just comes out and says she hates herself. She hates that she's like this, and she apologizes for it. And that just like sets Naoka off. She's just like, do not apologize for anything. Why are you always apologizing? You're the worst kind of person. Just going off, and she actually slaps her. And
Mm.
the recording basically ends there. And then we
You
get
just stopped it.
nothing out of that.
Yeah, that's it.
But then all that other stuff that we were talking about happens, and they have that meetup on the bridge. And at this point, Shoya's just a husk of himself who has some issues going on. and he has a breakdown, and it's just like, uh, you did this and you did that, and we're all bad people, and you're a nobody, and Miki, you say that you're innocent, but you were involved in all this.
No,
Sahara,
well,
you
well,
you ditched us. You
it's
just ran away.
yeah, yeah. But what he actually tells Mickey is like, "Shut up! All you want to do is just hear the sound of your voice."
Yeah, which is so true. So
And
like they,
that
yeah,
no, that's when Naoki because everybody's like deflecting and they're like, how can you say that, we're not those things, and blah blah
oh yeah,
blah.
and that's when Naoka's like, no, he's right.
No, he's right. Like especially to Mickey was like, you act like you're an angel but you're not an angel. You say you never took part, but you did. You sat there and you watched everything, like you let everything unfold.
Yeah,
And so she's like, so you have a big part of it just as much as we did.
yeah, exactly.
Like you never once like stood up for her, like you just cared about yourself. And like she was like laying it out on everybody.
But
And then that's when even she said, she said that she knows that what she did was wrong too.
yeah, exactly.
And that's when like everybody's like they can't take it no more and they all split up.
Yeah, they all just go their separate ways, and Shoya is just there, like, okay, so what are we gonna do next? And Shoko has this look on her face of just like sadness, and the scene kind of cuts there, but then they just continue hanging out, and he's just like acting happy, like he's acting hyper, and he's like, oh, I'm so happy that we did this. Oh, this is great. Blah blah blah.
Like, let's do this tomorrow. Okay, let's do that
Yeah, he
tomorrow.
basically just tries to spend every waking moment with them.
With Shoko and Yuzuru.
Yeah.
And then they're eating one day and he's like, oh, what should we do tomorrow? And they're like, oh, it's actually we have plans tomorrow. And then he's like, what is it? And that's when Shoko's like, oh, he should come. And Yuzuru's like, I don't know, that's a good idea. And we find out it's their mom's birthday.
Yeah, they help make a cake.
They help bake a cake together. And the mom comes home and she's literally like, what is he doing here?
Oh, let him stay. He helped out. Blah, blah, blah. It's so awkward.
It's so awkward, but she allows him to stay and they have cake together
Yeah.
and
See,
they have a good time.
cake brings people together.
It was strawberry cake.
Yeah.
I love strawberry. Well, it was white cake with strawberries, which is my fave. I was
um.
like, good, you guys.
Yeah. So they keep at it basically, and then they get to this one trip, and Shoko is very distant the whole time, and he's trying to keep her attention. It's like, oh, what do you want to do next? And she just signs to him like goodbye, and just walks away, and he's confused by
Oh,
that.
are you talking about the festival where they
No, no,
go the
not yet,
festival?
not the festival
Oh,
yet. Uh, they're just like out somewhere, like they went to like an aquarium or something like that. And
oh, they went like I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
I think that was before the mom's birthday. That was before.
uh,
Yeah, that
it,
was
it
before the
might be,
mom's
yeah.
birthday. Yeah. Well, go on.
And she just like leaves, and he's confused because he's thinking that he's been doing the right thing this whole time. He doesn't understand that he basically pushed all her friends away from her again. Uh, but yeah, the festival. That's an interesting one. You want to talk about
Very
that one?
interesting. Yeah, so they end up going to a festival. It's the mom, Yuzuru, Shoko, and Sho. And they go, they get a spot, they're sitting down, and they're just enjoying the fireworks. Yuzuru wants to get snacks, so I said he. So she's like, come on, mom, let's go get snacks. And so her and her mom go take off. And so it's just Sho and Shoko. And they're just sitting there enjoying the fireworks. And then out of nowhere, Shoko's like she's signing, and then Joe's like, really, you have to do that now? And then like she stands up, and then he's like, well, yeah, I guess studying is important. So she just said that she signed to him that she had to go and study. And so he's like, okay, like, be careful, be safe going home. And that's when she walks, and she signs. And I feel like that's when she signed goodbye, because they've always signed see you.
Uh huh.
and that's when he signs "see you," and that's when she signs goodbye, and then he signs "see you," and she takes off. And so then he's sitting on the blanket again, and that's when Yuzuru and the mom come back, and then Yuzuru's like where's Shoko? And then he's like, oh, like she took off, and Yuzuru's like, oh, I forgot my camera. Can you go get it? And that's and Sho's like, yeah, I'll go get it. So then he goes to their apartment, and he knocks on the door, and he like goes in, and the whole place is dark. And he's like, oh, I wonder why it's so dark in here. And so he sees Yuzuru's camera, picks it up, and he's like, oh, I should probably make sure this is charged. And so like he's checking out the camera, and as he's checking the camera, like fireworks are being blown up in the sky, so everything's like illuminating in the house. And so then he like looks over, and he's like, oh, you can see the fireworks from here. And as he looks over, he sees Shoko on the balcony, and he's like, oh, there she is. And as he sees her, like she starts to slowly like get up on the railing, and then he's like, wait, holy shit, like is she gonna jump? So then he books it, but then he ends up crashing into a chair, and he's screaming like, no, don't do it, don't do it. And you know what, when I first watched it, the first time I watched it, I thought that because he fell that she was actually gonna jump off, like he wasn't gonna make it. And so but he gets up, and then he goes, and right as she jumps off, he catches her by the hand, and he's struggling to hold her, and so she's like looking up like shocked to see him there. And so he's struggling to pull her up, and then he's just like praying like, oh, please let me save her, please let me save
Yeah,
her.
just give me one
And he's
more
like,
ounce of strength.
yeah, give me one more ounce of strength. And then he's telling you Shoko to at least hold on to the ledge. If she holds onto the ledge, he'll be able to pull her up. And so he's doing this for some time, and finally she grabs onto the ledge, which gives him enough strength to pull her up. So as he pulls her up, he slips and he falls down into the, I think, like a riverbank.
Yeah.
Like he falls into a riverbank, and it like goes, like you see him like crash and hit the bottom, and you just see all this blood like flowing up.
Yeah, he says, he makes a statement in his head of, it's so cold, it's so warm. And then you see the blood
Mm-hmm.
just like envelop him. And his vision starts to fade to darkness, and he's like, I hope she's okay. He's only thinking about her in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like super selfless. He doesn't care what happens to him. Because in all reality, this is what he wanted. He wanted to be gone, and he wanted to make it up to her. So in this
Mm-hmm.
moment, he's self-sacrificing. He saved her life and sacrificed his own. He got his wish.
And then he's even thinking to himself like, wait a minute, like, was I still selfish in the end? And he's like, I still never apologized to her about what I did.
Yeah, he said all this stuff, and I never truly apologized. Um, but then we find out that he doesn't die there. He's in a coma, uh, but he's alive still.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually shows Yuzuru and her mother at the waiting room because they don't know like what room he's in or anything. And his mom comes in with like a bag, I guess of his clothes or something in case he wakes up so he can change. And they get down on all fours and just like,
Crying.
we're so sorry. They're crying. It's like, it was my stupid sister. She wants to kill herself. We're so sorry that your son got involved in this. And it's just like a parallel to like earlier in the movie when she was begging for forgiveness to Shoko's mother for his bullying.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get, which is, after the attempted suicide, uh, one of the most powerful scenes where Naoka is beating Shoko up. And
Beating the crap out of
yeah,
her.
and Shoko's there with like a broken arm. Her arm is in a cast, and Naoka's just like going off on her and just beating the crap out of her. And Shoko's taking it because she honestly believes that it's her fault.
Mm-hmm.
Everything bad that happened to Shoya is her fault. And Naoka's enforcing this idea and just like beating on her. But then Shoko's mother comes and smacks the shit out of her. And they
They
start
go
going
at
at
it.
it. Just adult and teenagers going at it.
Bam,
and
fight,
his
fight.
mom actually has to break it up. And they all go and they're visiting him, and it's like over the course of a couple days. He's out for a
No,
while.
and then no, but another powerful scene was too when Shoko literally crawls on her knees to Sho's mom,
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that up.
and she's crying and she's begging for forgiveness.
Yeah,
Wait, I don't know. Is she begging? Well, she's really sorry.
yeah.
It's a powerful scene.
It's a
Like
very,
I said,
very hard scene to look at.
like I said, this movie, I was crying from beginning to end.
I'm trying not to cry right now. uh, yeah, it's super super powerful. Um, but yeah, he's out for a while, and they're coming to visit him, and Naoka actually tries to monopolize his room and make it so that
Only she can
only
have
she can go
visitation.
in. Well, not even only she can go in, just basically so Shoko can't go in
Shoko, and it seems like she won't let the other ones in too.
because they're trying to let Shoko in. Like
Yeah.
Steven Universe comes and Shoko's right there, so she won't let him in. And just like trying to monopolize him, even though he has stated that he like hates her. But you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So then Shoko takes it upon herself to basically swap positions with him, and now she's going around and gathering all their friends and seeking forgiveness on his behalf. And oh man, I'm sorry.
You're okay. I know
Oh boy.
this is tough. So so Shoko takes it upon herself to go and get forgiveness from everybody else. And as Shoko's going around, everybody is, is realizing their faults. And Shoko has a good a scene with Sahara where Sahara was like, like there needs, like, there's no apology, like he's right, I always run away, and she's like, I'm still running away, and Shoko is like, you can change that today.
Yeah,
And
it's
her,
basically the turning point for everyone is these
yeah.
scenes. And
And
the only one
so
who doesn't want to change is Naoka. She has to approach her several times.
yeah, like to the point where like she's like standing like outside, like like there's a lot of montage. And so like Naoko, not Naoko, Shoko is standing outside, and it's like days like passing by. And so finally Shoko is in her room, and she's asleep, and she's having a dream. Well, no, I think it's Shoya that has the dream.
They have a shared dream.
You think it's a shared dream?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a shared dream.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the context of the dream.
It was basically like he slipped away.
Oh yeah, because at the end he was like, "This is the end, goodbye,"
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And so she wakes up in a panic, and she like runs out of her room, and she runs to the spot where they always met up to feed the ducks.
Yeah, and at the same time, he wakes from his coma and like basically rips out his IVs and also runs to the same spot because he had the same vision. And they just meet up there, and it feels emotional, and then they just like have this moment where they just start laughing because it's so ridiculous.
You know what I just realized?
What?
We didn't talk about the moment where she tried confessing to him.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna bring it up later.
It was so cute, but anyways.
I wanted to get through the try not to cry parts.
Okay, let's do this then. But yeah, so they meet up, and they have a really good conversation, and she apologizes, but he's like, there's no need to apologize, and that's when he's like, I gotta apologize to you because I'm sorry for how I treated you back then.
Yeah.
And they have a really good moment with each other.
Yeah, they finally forgive each other, and also in a way forgive themselves.
Yeah. Because he said, he's like, I used to have the same thoughts of you. He's like, I tried ending my life, but he's like, but you have given me the reason to live.
Yeah.
And that's when I think too she came to realization that she should live for him as well.
Uh-huh.
You're okay.
um, but yeah, this is just like basically the first step to recovery because recovery is a process.
It
Um,
is. It is.
but that this is a great step. Um, so some time passes because well, I'm guessing some time passes because I doubt that he's just able to wake up from a coma and then just go home.
Yeah, no, that
Yeah,
that, that
that
doesn't work like
he's
that.
escorted back to the hospital. I'm sure he stays a couple days there. Uh, but he's able to go home. He's able to go back to school. And one thing that this movie skipped over that's in the manga is that Steven Universe wants to be a movie director, and he
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
film a movie, and like that's kind of happening in the background of this movie, but they never like really talk about it or spend any time on it. So it's kind of odd that it's such a big thing at the end. But it's
Uh-huh.
they go to the school festival which is happening, and he's supposed to unveil his movie there. Um, we don't really get to see that in the movie though.
I know. I was so disappointed. Like that was like one of the big, because it was. I mean, in the manga, it was more than one occasion that they always talked about the movie.
Yeah, it was a big part of it. In fact, in the manga, one of the filming locations that they use for his movie is the old elementary school, and Shoya has like a breakdown because he doesn't want to be there because of the memories involved with it, and
I really gotta.
they just skipped
I
over it.
really need to reread the manga.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
So he's in school with Shoko, and they're going through, and he's like, "I'll show you my classroom," and he opens the door to his classroom, and everyone's like, "It's Shoya, Shoya's back!" Oh, and they're like happy for him, but he's like panicking, and he just like
Slams the
slams the
door.
door shut, and he runs to like the boys' bathroom, and he's just hanging out in a urinal, and that's when Steven Universe comes and has like a heart to heart with him and says like, "I forgive you, you're my best friend. Come on, Yasho, we can do this together." And they actually come out, and he basically meets up with all his friends again. And one by one, he realizes that they forgive him, and that they can move on from here. Like their friendship isn't gone. And even Naoko comes out, and she's forgiven for what she's done, forgives him for anything that she might hold against him, and she's still being like a little mean to Shoko, but she calls her a moron, or in Japanese baka, and she signs it to her, showing that she is acting a certain way. Her actions prove that she's trying to be better, and she's trying to communicate with Shoko on a new level and try to understand her better. And Shoko's just happy, and she just keeps signing baka.
Yeah.
um, but then they have this scene where he's outside of the school, like still on the school grounds. They're in the festival, and all these people are around him, and they all have X's, and it mimics the scene earlier where he's walking to class, and they all have X's. He puts his hands over his ears because of all the noise, and he does that, and then like the music swells, and you get a chill down your back, and all at once the X's just fall, and he starts crying, and that's finally the moment that he forgave himself fully, and he's able to accept that he's not a horrible person. He can interact with these people. They're not talking about him. They're just enjoying their lives, and now he can enjoy his. And the movie just ends there. The manga goes beyond that, but the movie ends
Yeah.
there.
It's honestly it's such a beautiful movie.
That scene where like the music swells up, and he's crying, and all the X's drop, that is my favorite scene.
Me too. It's one of my favorite scenes.
The only scene I like the second one after that would be the attempted suicide and him saving her. Just because every time I see it, there's tension. Like I know he's gonna save her. I've seen the movie like 10 times, but there's always tension in that scene. It's done so well.
Yeah.
I just wish that we would have gotten a little more. Like I would have liked if they included, even if they did like that corny like "Where are they now" during the credits, just to show like what
I
the
know.
characters do afterwards.
I mean, like in the manga, it goes further where we see Shoko going off to college,
Yeah.
and Sho is staying behind in the hometown or the home city. But that's all we get. Like I want to see more. Like I want to see them reunite again.
Here's Shoya when he starts crying and everyone loses their ex.
Bless boy.
Yeah, so the funny thing is his mother, right? She's a hairdresser. In the movie, we see a quick scene early on where Shoko is in like a waiting seat to get her hair done, and
Yeah, and then she has like she's has leaves in her hair too. I
yeah, because
noticed.
she's already being bullied.
Yeah.
Um, but that's like all we see of that. In the manga, it we actually see more. We see her getting her hair done. We see her doing Yuzuru's hair. We have a moment where when she's little, um, she wants to get like a tomboy haircut from
Hmm.
Shoya's mom, and her mom's like, "No, you're getting a girl's haircut, and that's final." Like, she's strict, and
Hmm.
the Shoya's mom's like, "Oh, well, you should let her do it. I think it'll look cute." And that's actually their first argument, and kind of like shows the contention between them and their parenting styles.
Uh huh.
But then
Uh
yeah,
huh.
we see her doing Yuzuru's hair later on, and as you said, she goes off to college. She goes to Tokyo to go to college. She actually goes to be a beautician. She wants to be a hairdresser.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, she wants to be a hairdresser. Uh, and then you said earlier, we skipped a certain scene.
The compassion scene.
The
Like
moon?
Shoko like gets like she fixes her hair, she puts her hair in a ponytail, and so she's trying to say it. She's trying to speak to him, and she's trying to say love. But in Japanese, love is almost like when it's being pronounced, it kind of sounds like moon. And so when English, it wasn't like that bad too, but when in Japanese, it just made a lot more sense of why he mixed up the moon
Yeah, that's like
and
the one
love.
scene that really doesn't fit too well
Uh-huh.
in the English dub. And they just make it so that she's like, "I love you." She's like, "Huh? The moon?"
Yeah, but she's trying to say "I love you" to him with her voice, and he can't like get it. And so he's like telling her, he's like, "Please sign, sign," but she doesn't want to. She wants him to hear it.
Yeah.
And so that's when he's like, you're talking about the moon. And then she goes home upset, and Yuzuru's like, what's wrong? And she's like, I confessed to him. And she's like, you did what? And she's like, but he didn't understand me. And then Yuzuru just laughs.
Yeah, she really laughs it off. So I wrote a couple things here for me to bring up. So I wrote down, bring up Shoya being a dick because of his sister. I talked about that. His sister was the wild child. Bring up Nishimiya's asshole dad. I talked about that. Bring up the douchebag teacher storyline. We kind of touched on that, right?
Yeah, we kind of touched on it.
Uh, so he, like I said, they go back to the school to film, and he kind of has the breakdown, and he sees the teacher there.
Hmm.
And it's just like the teacher's still an asshole all these years later. He's still the same. Like you said, he must like really hate his job. He must hate life in general.
Hmm.
But there's actually a scene where he goes to the school with Shoko, and the teacher sees them together, knowing full well what their past is. And
Hmm.
like we don't get to see any development from this, but he has this moment of like, well, he changed. Maybe I can too. And it's supposed to be like an inspirational moment where like the side character is going to change, but we're not going to
Hmm.
focus on him because he's an asshole teacher that nobody cares about.
He was a real big asshole, like
Yeah.
to everybody.
Yeah. But then, do you remember the final scene of the manga?
Wasn't the final scene when she goes off to college?
No,
I don't remember.
because it actually goes beyond that. She comes back from college, and
I see. I don't remember that.
yeah. So the actual final scene is basically like they're invited to like an alumni day, like a school reunion, basically, for their elementary school, where everything
I
started.
I did not remember that.
And at this point, they've basically both confessed their love to each other. But nothing has really come from it.
Uh-huh.
So they get to the school and they're like outside of the school gate, and he's fine. Like he's a little worried, but for the most part, he's already moved on. It's not like the last time he went when he had a breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
But Shoko is nervous, and the last scene is literally them holding each other's hands, embracing as they walk through the school gate.
Wait, they don't touch up like on the other students?
Nope.
Oh, I mean that's a good scene to end too. I wish I had got it a little bit more.
Oh yeah, this is one of those things that like no matter how much they give us, we're always gonna want more because we're so invested in these characters.
There are like they're lovable characters. Lovable.
Absolutely, 100%. This now we had talked before about possibly doing Anastasia, right?
Yeah.
And I gushed about how Anastasia was my favorite movie and all this. Honestly, Anastasia is
This
my
is your
favorite movie because of the nostalgia factor of it. If it wasn't for that, this would definitely be my favorite movie. I mean, sometimes I do say it's my favorite movie.
hmm No, this is a good movie, guys. Like highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Watch it. It like I said, there's trigger warnings, but it honestly is so worth the watch.
Watch it, read it, whatever you want to do. Do both, honestly.
No, seriously, do both because honestly, like the movie's good, but there's so much more context in the manga
Yeah,
that just
definitely.
that just that makes more sense. Because I was telling Lizer, I remember the first time when I watched it, like like I read the manga first, and then I watched the movie, and I remember when I watched the movie, like I went on Tumblr and I wrote like a freaking expo, not an expose, like a freaking 5 paragraphs of what they missed in the movie
Yeah.
that I wish they could have brought in.
So you
But
actually saw the
seriously,
movie before you read the manga, right?
no, I read the manga before I saw the movie.
Oh, really? Okay. So
Yeah, I read it before I saw the movie.
for me, it was it actually started as a one-shot manga, and the one-shot basically covers the whole bullying ordeal and ends with her leaving and him being bullied. And that was it. We never got to see him grown up and dealing with anything in the manga.
Ouch, that's that's so bad.
Yeah.
I mean that's not like bad, but I mean like that's sad, you know?
So that
Like
that comes
for the
out.
one.
It's a hit. People love it. Um, she won awards for writing it and everything. Like Japan, they have like the all the manga titles and stuff. I think it was in Shonen Jump. What is whatever Attack on Titan is in is what this one in. And she got like best new writer award or something like that. And
Mhm.
you know, in Japan, you have to work up the ladder. You don't get any like you did so well. We're gonna put you on your own thing. So she was actually forced to work on someone else's manga for the next 5 years, basically. And as soon as she was done with that, she just dived headfirst into making a silent voice, the manga, and that was like a couple of years. I think it's like 3,000 pages in total or something like that. And it was just a massive hit. It went crazy when the one shot was originally released. It was crazy, even here in America. Like people heard about it and they were talking about it all the time, but it was just that one shot. You never got anything more. So when we finally got
Mhm.
more, people were so excited and they just ate it up, and that's how we got this amazing
Rightfully
movie.
so.
And sadly, you know, they have to cut out a lot of stuff that's considered fat. You know, we don't learn backstories of certain characters. We don't go too in depth with their issues and how they relate to one another. We don't hear about what happens after high school.
Mhm.
You get all that in the manga.
Mhm.
So basically, all that rambling, I'm telling you, read the manga.
Read manga seriously. I don't remember how it was the series was brought up, but I remember Lizer talking to me about it, and he was always like, read the manga," and I was like, "I'm gonna read the manga." So
Because
Lizer's the one that actually got me to read the manga, and I was like, "Holy crap! Thank you for recommending this to me."
yeah, and oh, big surprise, Lizer brought up something dealing with depression, and that's how he relates to it. Ha ha ha. But honestly, if you feel any of these emotions, sometimes it's hard to let things out on your own, and you just have to find an outlet. Reading this, watching it, whatever you choose to do, maybe both, this is a great way to get it all out. Because sometimes you need to feel emotions. I know that there's a lot of
Hmm.
people, whether they're my age, older, younger, that have this idea of I can't show emotion because that means I lost. Don't do that.
Don't, and it's really unhealthy because I grew up in a household where I was not allowed to show emotions. Literally, emotions to my parents was a weakness, and it's not a weakness.
No. So if you can't do it yourself, or if you don't want to do it yourself, do something like this. Watch something like this. It doesn't have to be this. As much as I would like for everyone to watch this movie or read this manga, everyone's different. They have their own things that they're into. Find your outlet. Find your outlet and just pour
And
yourself into it.
and I don't know if I can speak with for Lizer, but if you want someone to talk to, I'm here. You can always DM me. I'm Celeste Overdrive. I always have an ear. I'll always listen.
Yes, and her phone number is.
818. No.
um, yeah. When this movie came out, I don't think it was directly at the same time, but there was another movie that came out around the same time that people were comparing them to. Even though the material is actually different, they're not about the same thing. But it was called Your Name.
Dude, Your Name's a good movie too, but has nothing to do with this, like, at all.
At all, but people were constantly comparing it,
It
and
had literally different, like, premises. Different.
yeah, they're nothing alike. But the thing that always got to me was people like, "Your Name is so much better than A Silent Voice," and I'm like, "No, no, it's not," because I actually sat through Your Name. I sat through it. I How do I word this? I went in without trying to compare it to anything.
Hmm.
I found Your Name to be incredibly boring.
I liked Your Name.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
No, it's funny because it sounds like I'm saying I like Your Name.
Oh, Lyser's a great name. I like Your Name too.
Thank you, Celeste is.
Yeah. Um, I liked it. I just didn't like. I didn't fully like the execution. I found it boring. I felt like it dragged on. Now this movie,
No.
I can admit that it in some places it might go a little long. But
Hmm.
this one is grounded in reality where Your Name really isn't. So I can
Your
accept it
your
for this movie.
no, yeah, Your Name is it's actually like honestly, it's more like fantasy.
Yeah.
Like it had fantasy elements to it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But no, A Silent Voice is definitely one that hits home, and it deals with real life problems and real life situations.
This was a this was a hard podcast to get through.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks, man.
I knew you could do it.
Oh boy, there was a point in here. I'll admit it to everyone listening. There was a point in here where I muted my microphone so I can let a little bit out. This
It's
one
okay.
this one really hits home. Uh, but now you have the honors for next week.
My I'm gonna pick something upbeat,
Thank you.
and I thought long and hard because I was like, we are, I mean, this week is really hard. And so I thought long and hard, and I was like, you know what? We've been doing anime for a while, and even the ones that were non anime still kind of had like anime based elements to it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm pulling away from the anime and going straight into animation. This one's a Netflix original series. Can you guess what it is?
Beastar season 2.
It's still anime.
Oh man.
You're wrong.
Okay, what is it?
We are going to watch The Dragon Prince.
The Dragon Prince.
Yes.
Now here's a funny little thing.
Okay, let's hear it.
I've watched The Dragon Prince.
Really?
I love The Dragon Prince.
Dude, I love The Dragon Prince too. What the hell? I didn't know this shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've watched it.
And it was fun. I didn't know. Holy crap. Me and Liza are friends, but there's still a lot of things we don't know about each other.
Yeah, we don't hit each other up over every little thing we watch.
Yeah. Holy crap. Like I am surprised by this.
I never finished it. Is the thing. Like I watched all of season 1 and I think I saw all of season 2.
Like I legit was ready to be like, okay, the animation at first is sketchy, but it's such a good series, but now I don't have to go on that spiel.
Yeah. And it kind of relates to this one, huh?
Relates to what?
A silent voice.
The Dragon Prince?
Yeah.
I mean, there. Oh,
Because
shit.
we have a character that speaks in sign language.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
ant. The ant. I totally forgot about the ant.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about like that. I thought it was like I thought you were talking about like elements, like
Oh, no, no.
like story based. I thought you were talking about story based. I'm like, wait a minute, what's story based? Depression. I'm like, I don't remember depression. I don't remember
No,
this.
no,
Happening.
no,
I
no,
don't
no. No, Yamate. Yamate, could you stop?
But yeah, but there is somebody in there who uses sign language,
Yeah. She's a badass. Just like Shoko.
just like Shoko. But she's super sassy.
Yes. So,
She's a badass.
we'll see you guys next week for Dragon Prince then.
Watch it, you guys, if you want to stay on topic with us.
Yeah. But until then, bye.
Bye.